Hello, welcome back to the Checkpoint Reach podcast and the top 5 gaming list series. I'm your host Luke Eldon. I'm joined by my fellow gamers and friends, Sud and Perks. How you doing, guys?
Hello.
Yo, yo.
Well, we're here today, aren't we, to discuss the most underrated games of all time. I've got to say,
Yes.
well, as decided by Checkpoint Reach podcast anyway, I should
The
make that
official
very clear.
list of the
No,
internet.
the official list
Oh, this
of
is
all
official
time,
now.
of all time.
Yeah, this is not just Checkpoint Reach. This is the list that everyone should adhere to.
There you go. You've been told. To be fair, as well, this is quite difficult.
Yeah, it's a
I
tough
must
one,
admit.
isn't it? This category.
I mean, I did struggle a little bit because it's just finding the difference between what's underrated for some people, whereas they might say it's a fair rating. But we came
Yeah.
up with a list that we believe is quite fair. We'll start with number 5. I'm the only one who picked this game, but it's Watch Dogs 2. I don't believe you managed to get round to playing it, Perks, because you were so disillusioned by Watch Dogs 1,
Yeah, exactly.
which
And
a
it
lot of
was your
people
number
were.
one, so
It
Yeah, you
was.
have to have it in there.
Yeah, it was. I think this is a really, really good game. It's definitely underrated. People still had the stench pretty much from Watch Dogs 1,
it's
after
a good
being...
word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because, I mean, how overhyped was that game? That
Yeah, it
game
was. I mean, that game was so disappointing.
Yeah,
I remember when
and
it was
let so many
revealed.
people down.
I remember when it was revealed like in 2012 or something like that, and people it was like the first sort of look at a proper next gen game,
Mm.
and we were thinking, oh, this looks great. It looks like kind of GTA style game with a bit of hacking and stuff like that. It's cool, but it just didn't turn out like that at all. The protagonist was so bad.
Aiden.
Aiden Pierce, what a terrible protagonist. Had the most boring, awful voice
I know.
ever.
I can't even remember.
Oh,
Yes, I've got to go somewhere.
yeah, he was just so bad.
Yes, quickly.
It's a
Terrible.
shame because their PR and their marketing was outstanding
It
before the
was.
game
Yeah, it
launched.
was.
They
Yeah, the
got
game let 'em down.
everybody so hyped, and what actually came to fruition was terrible.
Yeah,
The game was also marred in a lot of controversy, wasn't it? There was all the downgrading stuff, and
yeah, the
game
classic
didn't look as good.
side-by-side video. However, their second installment, though, Watch Dogs 2, was really good. And the character, I really like the protagonist, Marcus. He had a lot more personality than Aiden, that's for sure. And yeah, I think, they definitely didn't live up to the hype of the first game, but they got a lot closer than they did with the first.
I think the city as well was better. San
Yeah,
Francisco
San Francisco.
was much better than where was the first one set? I can't remember. now.
Chicago.
Chicago, yeah. I just think Chicago was a bit more. It was kind of drab, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah, it was.
Whereas San Francisco was more
more
lively
vibrant.
and
Yeah,
sunny and had more going on. I think so.
yeah. You managed to play it, didn't you, Sud?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Watch Dogs. I've got to be honest, but you could definitely see it. I mean, I didn't play Watch Dogs 2 for long, probably like 5, 6 hours. But even in the limited time that I played it, you could tell it was a big improvement on the first one.
Yeah.
You know, even some of the little stuff they made it actually funny, didn't they? The game was actually quite humorous.
Yeah, they did. They
You know,
really did ramp it up.
they
And
lightened it up. They lightened the game because the first one was really serious, like too serious, I think, for that sort of game.
and literally, it's solely on my list because of the first one, because so many people didn't give this one a chance. And I really
Yeah,
do think this would, if this came out instead of the first one, I think, as the first one, sorry, this
yeah, they'd
would
be
have
on to a
done
winner.
really well. Yeah,
Yeah,
they really would. Anyway, we'll move on to number 4, and that's Too Human.
yeah. A very early Xbox 360 game. I think it was maybe 2007. I'm gonna say it came out. It was pretty early on in the life cycle of the 360, but this game I remember before launch was getting quite a bit of hype because it was an exclusive for Microsoft. So it originally was going to be a trilogy of games, but of course the game sold absolutely terribly, and I think there was some controversy with the game. Something happened where the developers were fined or something, or something weird happened like that, where they breached some sort of rules or something, and they basically got shut down in the end.
Was it
But
Silicon Knights? Or...
Silicon Knights, there
Yeah.
was some controversy. I can't remember exactly, but
Oh, wasn't that to do with the Unreal Engine?
yeah, they got like fined or something for using it in a. Did they? They said they were stealing assets or something like that,
Yeah.
basically. And the studio got shut down not long after the game came out. But I just remember that game being really addictive. I just remember it being really fun. I mean, I don't think it was like the greatest game in the world, but it was definitely a game that I think a lot of people missed out on. I remember playing it in co-op as well. It was a fantastic co-op game.
Yeah, we
I mean,
definitely did that along with a few others. I think for
yeah,
me, the reason it's definitely on my list and on our overall list is simply because it was one of the first ventures into an action RPG game that I actually
yeah,
did in co-op.
yeah,
Games may have existed previous to that, I'm sure, but like you said, it was early in the life cycle of the 360, and it was just different. It gave you that repetitive replayability and that sort of urge to try and get the better gear and replay the missions over and over again on harder difficulties, similar
yeah,
enemies, but with subtle tweaks here and there.
yeah. I
And
mean, yeah. I
yeah,
was just
go
going to
on.
say, when you look at the game as well, you look at some of the modern games now. Like you could even maybe compare it to Destiny in a way with the gear, in terms of the gear, like upgrading, and it was very. I think it was a bit ahead of its time, that game,
Perks
in
definitely can
terms
answer
of
to that.
Yeah, well, it definitely
not
has
in
its
terms of gameplay. I
similarities.
just mean in terms of the gear structure, and the way you'd
Yeah.
upgrade gear, and I think there'd be like tiers of gear, and so I don't remember playing a game before that I'd played like that before,
Me
and I
neither. And
think
the fact that you
yeah,
could play it with your friends definitely helped the game along. And even though it didn't do too well in the
although
grand scheme of things, we enjoyed it.
I've got to
Um,
But
say,
that's why it's underrated.
yeah.
I think personally remember this from the game. One of the fondest memories is the death sequence. Wow, that was terrible. How long that took? It was like
Oh,
two
yeah.
minutes. Oh, like this
And
angel would come
obviously,
down from the sky and like revive you, and it'd be this weird music, and it took so long to revive.
it was horribly
Yeah,
done.
they
It was
got that
supposed
wrong.
to be dramatic, and
Yeah, it just
it's
it's so.
fine. But in a game that you're inevitably going to be dying in a lot, that wasn't
The
one
first
of the
couple of times
high
you see it, you think, "Oh,
points.
that's a cool sort of death animation or
It gets
revive
tiring
animation."
pretty
But
quick.
oh yeah, it was terrible.
Mm.
Well,
But
anyway,
yeah,
that's our fourth choice, Too Human. We'll move on to our next one. Number 3 is The Condemned.
I'll let you start with this, Perks.
Yeah, so it was probably the first game I played of this type that I actually enjoyed. I think it was called Criminal Origins
Yeah,
back
Condemned
on
Criminal
the
Origins.
360. And I didn't have any real expectations of it, to be honest. I picked it up a while after it came out. It was a bargain bin game. And the synopsis for anyone who has never really heard of it is basically you're an agent and you arrive at the scene of a murder and blah blah blah, typical sort of criminal investigating game. But the storyline from where it actually begins and for its time and all the twists and turns and how the plot actually evolves throughout the game, it's an amazing story. It could definitely
Mm.
be a TV series. I
Yeah,
don't know if it actually maybe was
mm,
based on something or a film that
possibly.
someone saw one time. It seems like it has that kind of vibe to it. One of these that never even made it to the big screen or anything like that. But it's very well written. I think the agent was his name Ethan.
Yeah, it could have been. I think it was
I think
Ethan.
it
Yeah,
was Ethan.
yeah,
But this is about 20 years ago, so forgive me if that's wrong. But yeah, no, it's a really fun game. It has a lot of different mechanics, and for its time in terms of investigating crime scenes, looking for clues, using your initiative to figure out what the answer is, basically. And one thing I really liked about it was that you could actually miss certain clues and move on. Now, that might
yeah,
sound quite stupid, but the better detective you are in the game, the more you know about the case going
mm.
forward, and you can sort of build up the subtleties that way. So
Yeah, that's really
if you're
good,
not
actually.
that interested, you can miss all the clues, progress through the story, and you're still going to get to the same eventuality. But if you do build it up, you know a hell of a lot more about what's going on and why things are so important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree. I think it's a vastly underrated game. I'm actually surprised it's not been revived in some form yet, because I think people would respond well to a game like that in this day and age as well. Um, because at the time, I think I remember I wasn't really into them sort of games, sort of like the Silent Hill, Resident Evil type games of the way of making horror games like that. But I remember playing it, and even in the first hour, I was like, "This is such a good game!" The brutality of the game as well, like because the combat is basically melee, isn't it? I mean, I know you got guns and stuff like that, but mainly you're using melee weapons for a lot of the game.
Yeah, it was like
It's close
pipes,
combat,
bats,
yeah,
wooden
sort of
planks,
in your
things like
face
that.
enemies rushing at you and stuff. But the one thing I remember about the game is it was a genuinely scary game at times as well. Like it was genuinely creepy, wasn't it? Like some of the places you went to were really creepy. A lot of jump scares, things like that. I remember there was a part in the game where I think you're in like a mansion or something or a house, and you have to go down into a basement, and just the lead up to the basement and everything is so creepy. and like it's just hot. It's like enemies hiding around like walls and hiding behind boxes. It's really cool. It was a really cool game, and I just want to shout out to the second game as well because I know you played that one as well. But maybe the story wasn't quite as good as the first one, a bit more far fetched, but the multiplayer in the second one was so unique, fantastic
Yeah,
multiplayer.
the story in the second one focused on mind
Yeah,
control
it
and,
was a bit more out there, wasn't it?
like you said, far-fetched is a great
Yeah.
word to describe it. But the multiplayer was hilarious. You could hide in cupboards and like brick people as they
Yeah,
walk
it was so
past and
fun.
things like
It was
that.
so fun.
It's a different take on the typical sort of 4v4 death matches and things like that. It worked really well, but it definitely didn't come close to the plot line of the first
No.
one.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to just let you know, Perks, that you were correct. His name was Ethan Thomas.
That's
I
the
would
one.
never have remembered the surname.
No,
No.
well, I did a little quick Google, and you were correct. So that's the Condemned in number 3, and number 2 we have Shadowrun.
Yeah, what a great game that was for the time. It came out mid 2007, I think it was. Yeah, mid 2007 it came out. So it was a summer game. Didn't do well critically at all. I think in Metacritic it might be in the 50s or 60s. It really didn't do very well. I don't think people understood the game. They didn't really get what it was about. It sold disastrously. I think it's another case, but I think that studio again went under pretty soon after that game. But I've got to say, the game they made for me was such an addicting game. It was a fantastic multiplayer game. Another game that I think was way ahead of its time. I really do. With the character classes and stuff like that, it was so fun. Such a fun game. The maps, I remember as well, just being brilliantly designed, amazingly designed maps. Especially because a lot of them are vertical maps, weren't they? There's a lot of height you could gain on people and stuff like that, and just so unique for its time.
I think when you say
combat
that,
as well.
man, just before you move on to the rest of the game, ahead
Yeah.
of its time is right. I mean, because this was one of the first games we saw that was just straight up, this is an online game. People
Yeah.
were like, "Where's the story? What do you do?" There was a brief training thing, wasn't there? I think that was
Yeah, like
the extent of the single
yeah.
player. But for like, was it 2006 you said or 2007? I can't
2007, yeah.
remember. But it was like that was not very common back then, and games like that wouldn't really succeed, and that's probably why it didn't. But now most games are like that. You buy a game, hey, you need online. You have to be always online to play it. So yeah,
True. And
Shadowrun was ahead of the curve.
I think it came out just a little bit too early.
Probably
Yeah,
about
I think
12
so.
years too early.
Yeah, if it came, I think if it came out around now, it would have a better chance. But I think as well, what I liked about the game is it didn't take itself too seriously. There was quite a lot of humor in the game, wasn't there? Whether it was inadvertent humor or not, the way the characters were designed. You had sort of like the troll, which was the typical sort of big fat troll thing, and then you had like the elves, and the character models were just great, weren't they? The dwarves were they're really pronounced character models, like really over the top character models. Which
They
I
were all
liked.
really unique, though. They all
Yeah,
played
they were.
completely differently. Like,
Yeah.
if you picked the troll, you could not do some of the things the human did, and likewise with the elf and the dwarf. And the different characters, they had different capabilities when it came to their magic in terms of healing or buffing, teleporting. And we'll always remember cutting someone and making them bleed out and seeing them stand underneath the tree of life for the
I'm
rest of the
bleeding
game.
out.
Yep. There you go.
So funny.
And you could betray people doing that. Shout out
And
Matty and Rick.
obviously, Perks, we remember Strangle as well.
Yep.
I can't even remember what that was called. Was that even called Strangle? Or did we
That
try
was
that
not.
out?
No, it definitely wasn't called
wasn't.
Strangle.
We just called it that.
We said that because of a game
It was
called
some sort of
Stranglehold.
electric trap thing, wasn't it? That you could place around the map, and enemies could get trapped in it. And every time someone got trapped in it, we just shout out Strangle.
Was
Strangle,
it
Strangle.
electric? Wasn't it like a moldy
Maybe
vine
like a
type
moldy
thing?
sort of thing, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
But yeah, all the power-ups are really character and class specific, which lent well to having a sort of a team composition and not just picking anyone for the sake of it.
Yeah, real hidden gem there.
Yeah, and that's why it made it up on the list to number 2. But it didn't take our top spot. That was saved for number 1, Mass Effect Andromeda. I mean,
Drum roll, please.
well, drum roll's
Didn't
too
have the
late
drum
now.
roll there. Too late.
It's far too
Yeah.
late for that.
But
Yeah, I mean, I actually really liked this game. I enjoyed it.
Same.
It got a lot of hate. Obviously more well known for the bugs and just like the face animations and
yeah, They were pretty bad, to be fair, when it first came
yeah,
out.
but
I mean,
I never experienced them.
no,
So...
well, I didn't really experience too many bugs either. I mean, I think maybe we just got really lucky. I don't remember experiencing many at all, and I played it from the start.
Same.
So, but
Same.
you know,
I didn't.
I conferred that.
Yeah, so all
Yeah.
three of us got lucky there. But I even thought the story was pretty good. The gameplay was
enjoyed
fun.
the story. Yeah, I thought the exploration was well done. I think a lot of people said like the exploration was boring and stuff. I didn't find it boring. I found it quite interesting, going around the planets and stuff like that. I think maybe some of the planets could have been a bit more diverse. Some of them are a little bit samey at times, but I enjoyed. Do you remember like the crypt things you'd go into as well? Them sort of like
Yeah.
ancient crypts. They were pretty cool as well. I like that idea. There was a lot of things
a
to
lot of them
discover.
had like missable things in them as well,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
quite, it made you really want to figure out the puzzle before you left and ran away from that smoke that was chasing you, I think,
Oh,
as you
yeah.
were running
God, yeah.
away.
I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
I remember that. That was quite fun. But the combat as well. Like, there's one thing about that game no one can criticize, and that's the combat, because the combat is the best in the series by far. In
Yeah,
Andromeda.
it's really good.
I
mean, the
all
biggest
the powers
problem.
you could use.
The biggest problem with this game is I had to live up to the original Mass Effect
Yeah.
series, and I stand by what I said when it came out. If this game was named like Sam Explores the Universe and
Yeah,
people
it'd probably
played it,
get a good score.
yeah, people would enjoy it. But
Yeah. It's a
yeah,
shame because
big shoes to fill.
it's a shame as well because I feel like obviously we know now what's happening with Mass Effect. We're definitely never going to see an Andromeda 2. Because I would imagine if they ever revive Mass Effect, they'll probably reboot it again. But I
They'd
think
have to ditch the name.
yeah, I just don't think they'd ever do a sequel to it. But it's a shame because the story looked like it was going in interesting directions. By the end of the story, there's a lot of interesting things going on. You think, oh, this could be the start of a cool trilogy. Like, because even Mass Effect 1, like I love Mass Effect 1, but a lot of people aren't keen on Mass Effect 1 because of the combat. And look at the improvement Mass Effect 2 made. So you feel as if that could happen again with this, but we know that's not going to happen now, which is a shame.
Like I just mentioned, that had the luck. Well, not luck really, but that was the first game in the franchise, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So didn't have big shoes to fill. But even with this game, like they had a really good a couple of side missions that made me intrigued to find out the answer to, which I wouldn't find out till the next game. Like who killed was her name? Why have I got Urso in my head? I don't think it's Urso, but
Jyn Erso from Star Wars.
Yeah,
So it's always
Jyn
Jyn
Erso.
Erso.
So is Jyn Erso.
It's the woman who's meant to be in charge of the ship, but then when you have Crisis
Do
or
you
whatever
two remember my favorite side mission in that game is do you two remember the side mission with the Krogan when you're at the bar and you start like beating up them guys and stuff?
Yeah, and
That
you
was
end
so
up
good. I love that side
kicking
mission.
about 40 guys out of the bar
Yeah,
and leaving
so
them
cool.
like beat up and broken tables.
But even the dialogue and that stuff is great in that. That's something that could have. That's probably one of the best side missions in the whole Mass Effect trilogy or quadruple trilogy, whatever you want to call it. 4 games. Quadrilogy, yeah. That's one of the best side missions, and things like that go overlooked because people just go, "Oh, look at the bugs and stuff like that." But
my face is tired. Actual dialogue from the game.
Yeah. But
I'm sorry, my face is tired.
I do think it's going to be Yeah, that was bad. To be fair.
Someone wrote that.
I know. There were some bad ones as well, no doubt about that, but the game had some fun parts. But I think it's a shame because, I think even a lot of people listen to this are going to be like, probably hating us on it. Hating us on choosing this as our most underrated game, but
it is underrated.
I think it is underrated. I think a lot of people gave it shit, and, you could say rightfully so, we expected better, but when you actually play the game properly, a lot of people, that's the problem with a lot of people. A lot of people didn't play this game properly. A lot of people sort of just played the first hour and went, "Oh, I'm not playing this anymore." And people didn't give it a chance, I don't think.
I'd actually go back further than that. They didn't play it at all. They played it in their head because we exist in like such a bandwagon culture now. Yeah. All the images and all the videos were released. It was all over any form of social media. Lola, Andromeda, what is this? And things like that. So people had already made up their mind. They didn't have to play the game to know that it was bad or average or good. They knew it was crap because they saw the images, and that was the game was dead before it even began just because of that.
It's just like when people see articles, though, they just read the headline, don't actually click on the article, and then they form an opinion off the title of the article.
Shout out to the multiplayer as well. I thought that was pretty fun. I like
never played the
multiplayer on Mass Effect.
I've never played single multiplayer aspect of any Mass Effect game.
They were actually quite fun.
They had pay-to-win loot boxes.
Yeah, that was another problem. But the actual game itself is fun. I remember Mass Effect 3 especially being fun, and Andromeda was similar to 3. So
concept was okay, but execution, I'm sorry, whenever you include pay to win loot boxes,
I mean,
that's not good.
No. Recipe for disaster. But that completes our list. Mass Effect Andromeda tops that. We do have a few honourable mentions, one each. I'll just quickly go first and throw out Broken Sword. It was on PlayStation 1. I think it came out in like 1997. It's one of the very first games that I played on the PlayStation, and I think I might be the only one in this group that played it, but
I've heard of it. It's a point-and-click game, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just really good. The story to it is really good, and just trying to find clues. I'd never played anything like that at the time. I mean, God, I must have been like 10 or 12 when I played it, so I never had played it or experienced a game like that, and it just fascinated me, and that is one game that if you ever get a chance to play, you should definitely try out. But go ahead, guys. What are your honourable mentions?
Well, my one is a game that...
So you can go first.
Yeah, my one is a game that came out, I think it was 2011. Not 100%, it was either 2011 or 2012, but it was Max Payne 3. Now, I think a lot of people have played Max Payne 1 and 2, because that was quite a popular franchise. I think you played it, didn't you, Perks, on PS2? One you enjoyed. A lot of people like that game, made by Remedy, who recently made Control and Alan Wake, of course. But Max Payne 3 was... it was a bit different because it wasn't Remedy behind it. It was, I think Rockstar had a lot to do with the development, didn't they, behind Max Payne 3. So it was slightly different type of game, more that GTA feel. But I just thought it was a great game. I thought the bullet time aspects of the game so fun, Just such a fun game to actually play. The shooting mechanics fantastic. I've got to say the voice acting in that game is second to none. Fantastic voice acting by the main cast. That's something that in games, you can put you off, can't it, sometimes? If you play a good game and then the voice acting is terrible, it really puts you off. But in this game, it really immerses you in the story and stuff because of how good the voice acting is. And I've got to say the story was such a great ride. It's such a great story. As of them all, to be fair, Max Payne 1 and 2 had good stories as well, so that's not really surprising. But overall, I think it was underrated because even though it reviewed fairly well, a lot of people didn't seem to play it or pick it up. It seemed to be just kind of forgotten about. It came out, people maybe played it a little bit. Was it sandwiched?
Was it sandwiched in between big releases or something? I can't remember.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I just think maybe people didn't really pick it up. Just one of them games that people ignored, I think.
And just bypasses them. It's a decent honourable mention. How about you, Perks? What's yours?
I'll finish off on something quite topical then. I'll go for Borderlands, the pre-sequel. It came out at a strange time following on from Borderlands 2, and I think a lot of people probably missed out on it because it released on the old gen. So it was quite a strange game in that sense. It wasn't where it should have been in terms of its placement on consoles. So my main reason for choosing it is because after playing Borderlands 2, Handsome Jack is an amazing character, and whether you love him or hate him, you can't deny his influence. The pre-sequel is all about Jack's story prior to that. So you've got this idea in your head of him being this tyrannical villain and the worst guy in the world. And he's actually a good guy to begin with. And it's all about the story of why he becomes the character you know in Borderlands 2. So finding out a little bit more about how and why he became that way and why he's so salty about life, that really intrigued me. And it was really surprising because it just went in a completely different direction than what I imagined it to be. So yeah, that's why it makes mine.
Sounds like a Vader arc.
Yeah, I mean, similarities.
Yeah, just a quick thing on Borderlands, just in general, unpopular opinion, Tales from the Borderlands, the best Borderlands game, in my opinion.
I cannot confirm or deny that.
I would say it's up there, but I'm going to sit on the fence.
Sit on the fence, Perkins.
I have heard good things, though, about it.
I'll say it's the best Telltale game, but
yeah,
I don't know
better
about...
than the Wolf Amongst Us.
That's a tricky one.
They're my top
both
two.
The top two,
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a fair honourable mention then, and that completes our top 5 gaming list. Thanks for joining me as ever, guys.
Pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at David Tenspurd on Twitter.
I'm at JG Perks, same platform.
Cool, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Leld, LEL3Ds, add a 9 on the end for Instagram. You can also follow Checkpoint Reach Podcast on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Check Reach Pod. Thanks for listening, and if you are listening, make sure that you like, subscribe and comment below, as it will help the channel to grow. Anyway, we'll be back soon with another gaming list. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.